Hello students, let us revise the poem The Snowflakes Sail Gently Down by Gabriel Okara. Gabriel Okara is a Nigerian poet and novelist. In 1953, his poem The Call of the River Nun won an award at the Nigerian Festival of Arts. Some of his poems were published in the influential periodical Black Orpheus. Gabriel Okara's works have been translated to almost all languages. Okara tries to incorporate African thought, religion, folklore, imagery into his verse and prose. He also tends to make linguistic experiments in his novel by using his native language, Ijo, in them. Okara's poetry is based on a series of contrasts. Here we can see life and death, black and white, such kind of images being contrasted, and also a movement from reality to dream and to reality can be noted in Okara's poems. Let us look at the poem now. The snowflakes sail gently down from the misty eye of the sky and fall lightly on the winter-weary elms. This poem is supposed to have written when Okara was in America. He witnessed a snowfall for the first time in his life and wrote a poem on it. Here, the poet describes snowfall and he imagines that the snow is the tears of the sky. Snow falls from the eyes of the sky in the form of snowflakes and gradually covers up everything on the earth. And when something covers earth, it means that it is dead. Here the poet compares earth to a dead body which is covered over by a funeral cloth which is nothing but white snow. And at first he describes snow falling on elm trees. This is what we read from the poem. And fall lightly on the winter-weary elms. He talks about some trees. The elm trees are full of leaves at other times except winter. In winter, elms lose all their leaves. Therefore, elm is a deciduous tree. A deciduous tree is one which loses its leaves in winter. So, the snowflakes fall gently on this tree. Over a period of time, the tree is covered by snow all over, and snow becomes very heavy since the tree has a load of snow over it. And the branches, winter stripped and nude, slowly with the weight of weightless snow, bow like grief-stricken mourners. Now, after a period of time, because the tree is covered with snow, it bends with the weight of the snow. If you take a little bit of snow, it is weightless. But when there is a load of snow, the tree cannot tolerate its weight. So the tree bends. The bent shape of the tree is compared to a mourner. Mourner is somebody who cries, who weeps at the loss of or the death of somebody. So here the poet gives us the images of death and sorrow. The snowflakes are like tears, the sky is weeping, and the elm trees are bent with sorrow at the death of earth. As white funeral cloth is slowly unrolled over deathless earth, the snow looks like cloth which covers up entire earth, and this cloth is a funeral cloth, and the dead person is death, is earth. So earth is being covered by white snow. As I mentioned earlier, the poet uses images of death here. Earth has died at winter. There is no activity, no birds, no flowers, no music. Therefore, earth is dead, and snow is like the funeral cloth which covers up the entire earth. And there are mourners, there are people, or there are trees which mourn for the death of the earth. And dead sleep stealthily from the heater, arose and closed my eyes with the touch of silk cotton of water falling. As the poet is watching the spectacle of falling snow, he falls asleep himself. The heater inside his room makes him fall asleep. He says, sleep came to him as a thief, without making any noise, without him knowing that he is falling asleep. He started dreaming. Then I dreamed a dream in my dead sleep, but I dreamed not of earth dying and elms vigil keeping. He says the dream was different from the reality or actuality. What he was watching just before dreaming was a sight of funeral, or it was cold with symbols of death in it. Whereas in his dream, what he saw was that of life. So let us read the lines once again. Then I dreamed a dream in my dead sleep. In the sleep, he was like a dead person, and in that death, what he dreamed was not of earth dying. In that dream, he did not see a dead earth and elm tree weeping for the death. He did not see anything related to death, but what he saw was life. He saw birds flying all around inside. In my inside, he says, he saw birds nesting and hatching on oil palms. There were palm trees, oil palms everywhere. There were birds flying around, and in the oil palms he could see some fruits which are once again compared to sun, which is bright, and with roots denting the uprooter's spades. So what he sees in his dream is full of life. There is activity. There are birds which are flying all around. They are busy building their nests and laying their eggs, while the oil palm itself is a very strong tree. It has very strong roots. Nobody can pull it out. Even when the uprooter comes with a spade, he is not successful in doing it. And the fruit of the oil palm are precious, are bright like the sun. So this is what he dreams. In the next stanza we read, and I dreamed the uprooters tired and limp, leaning on my roots, their abandoned roots, and the oil palms gave them each a sun, but on their palms they balanced the blinding orbs and frowned with schisms on their brows. So the dream continues further. In the dream he saw that the uprooter, those who had come to cut the tree, to remove it and to kill it, were not successful. In their attempt, in their effort to do so, they became tired, they became injured, so they abandoned their work. They abandoned their work, whatever they were doing. They stopped uprooting the tree and started to take rest. at the roots of the oil palm. So they surrendered to the oil palm, and the oil palm was happy to give shelter. It even gave some of its fruits to them. Now, oil palm is a symbol of Africa or Nigeria. It is a symbol of their culture and tradition. And uprooter can be the colonizer who came to colonize Africa, and he was not entirely successful in colonizing or changing their culture altogether. So he finally gave up his attempt of doing so and surrendered to the oil palm. And oil palm also gave the fruits. After taking the fruits, the colonizer was not very happy, since he had expected something more than that. He frowned with a schism on their brows. But on their palms they balance the blinding orb. Orb is a globular or round shaped thing. Here, orb refers to the fruit of the oil palm. So, while fruits of the oil palm were given to the uprooter, he kept it on the palm of his hand and looked at it and was not satisfied with whatever Africa or Nigeria in this case gave him. He had expected more valuable, more shiny thing, like something like the gold. So he was not entirely happy with whatever Nigeria could give him. Continuing to read the next stanza, then I awoke to the silently falling snow, and bent backed elms bowing and swaying to the winter wind like white robed Muslims salaming at evening prayer, and the earth laying inscrutable like the face of a god in a shrine. So, after dreaming, the poet wakes up. Once again, he finds around him the same earth covered with white snow, and elms bending with the load of snow on weight of snow on them. Same sight he watches. As I mentioned earlier, this poem starts with reality, goes to a world of dreams, and once again returns to reality. This time, elms look like Muslims at their prayer, wearing white dress. Elms look like Muslims who are engaged in their prayer services, and the earth lying inscrutable like the face of a god in a shrine, and the earth without any emotions, without any feelings, looks like a god in the shrine. Now, when lot of exploitation took place in Africa, their gods couldn't save them, couldn't help them at the moment of crisis. In the same way, Earth in America looks emotionless, looks feeling less. Therefore, it can't do anything at this moment. So, we have seen the poem. Let us now try to analyze it a bit. The snowflakes sail gently down was written while Gabriel Okara was in Chicago, USA, and first experienced snow. By using the words grief stricken mourners, the author is able to connect his feelings with a harsh, condescending attitude. In America, he found something different from his culture in Nigeria. He is in a new place, very far away from home, so new things could be upsetting to him. He couldn't feel at home in America. Okara initially associated the experience with coldness and death. So, the experience of falling snow is more like cold and death to the poet. The coldness of this place is unlike the warmth of the African sun that Okara is used to. Okara feels at home in Nigeria, where sun is bright and hot. The foreign nature of snow and cold could represent the poet's separation from his home, from Nigeria. So in America, the poet feels like an outsider. He cannot feel at home. He is not very happy there. Paired with these images of coldness and death are symbols of death, such as grief stricken mourners, white funeral cloth, and dead sleep. The next stanza poses contrasting images of light and warmth, images that come to him from within himself, or a dream as he calls it. In the second stanza, we find the poet dreaming about Nigeria, where entirely different kind of images appear to him. In America, he saw only images of death, whereas in the dream, he found images of life. From this dream, Okara's poem moves away from coldness and death, but of life, of black birds flying in my inside, and oil palms bearing suns for fruits. The image of sun-bearing palm tree represents the extreme warmth and brightness of the sun of Nigeria, contrasted with the winter-weary elms and misty sky that embodies the city of Chicago. So, Chicago in America and Nigeria are contrasted to each other. While America has all images of death, Nigeria has images of life. The images of brightness and life emerge as images from within the poet, for they only appear after he has closed his eye and is deep in sleep. So the images of reality appear to him only in his sleep, only when he is inside. That is what he says. When he goes inside himself, he is able to see those images of life. This evokes a feeling of nostalgia from the poet, a sort of deep bond between Okara and his homeland. While he is in America, he is reminded of his hometown in Nigeria. The deep bond of connection is being recalled by the poet in America. This back and forth between cold and warmth, death and life, the Western world and Nigeria suggests the difficulty the poet has in reconciling these opposing images and ideas. He is in a sort of in between. In sleep, he finds himself at home in Nigeria, and when awake, in the cold, unfamiliar city of Chicago. By representing his homeland through a dream, perhaps Okara means to represent how far away Nigeria feels from where he currently is. Chicago is so far removed from Nigeria, both geographically and culturally, that the only way the poet can feel the presence of his homeland again is through dreaming. So, in the poem, he finds cold of America unbearable. In the first stanza, we have seen that the cold is extreme. It is like death to him. He longs for the warmth of Africa. And there is some mysticism in him, and he is able to go to an inner space inside himself. In the dream, he can go to that world where he gains entry to another world of dream, and there he is able to enjoy. Inside signifies beauty and warmth of the African landscape. It is like consolation for the poet. He is able to feel some comfort when he falls asleep. Okara is a master of rhythm. As you read the poem, you find many rhythmically used words. So, Okara is known as master of rhythm. So, this has been the poem for you. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.